Hey there! Welcome back to another episode of Critically Speaking. Today we'll be reviewing the widely successful board game Catan, previously known as the Settlers of Catan, or simply Settlers. The Settlers of Catan is a popular board game designed by Klaus Tuber. The game is played with 3 to 4 players, but there are expansion packs that can allow for up to 6 players. The game takes place on a board made up of hexagonal tiles that represent different resources such as wood, brick, wheat, sheep, and ore. Players must take turns rolling dice to determine which hexes produce resources, and then trade these resources with each other to build settlements, roads, and cities. Each player starts with 2 settlements and 2 roads on the board, and they gain victory points by building more settlements, upgrading their settlements to cities, and achieving other objectives such as having the longest road or the largest army. The game also involves a fair amount of strategy, as players must balance their desire to collect resources with the need to block their opponents from gaining too much power. Additionally, the board layout changes with each game, which means the players must adapt their strategies to fit the unique circumstances of each game. Overall, The Settlers of Catan is a fun and engaging game that combines luck, strategy, and negotiation in a way that keeps players coming back for more. I'm a big fan of Monopoly, and I was excited when this game was suggested. So let's get critical. The players will take turns placing their first settlements on the board. There is a strategy in placing your first settlements, as these will be a good indication of which resources you plan on monopolizing or exploiting for trade. The players will place one settlement down, followed by a road in any direction so long as it is not directly next to another player's settlement, meaning there must be at least one open hexagonal corner between each settlement. Keep in mind that the first turns are in snake order. The last person will go twice back to back, placing both their settlements at the same time, reversing the order. The second settlement that is placed by the player will automatically receive the resources attached to the settlement. The green pastures give the player wool, the yellow fields of grain provide the player wheat, the gray rocky mountains offer ore, the burnt orange ground will earn the player brick, and finally, the trees deliver the player wood. Each settlement is worth 1 victory point, so at the beginning of each game, every player should start with 2 victory points. There are a limited amount of settlements, cities, roads, and ships, so use them wisely. Let's begin! The tactic I'll attempt in this game is to isolate my opponents as much as possible, and capitalize on a specific resource. I will also want to decide if I want to achieve largest army or longest road, awarding 2 victory points for each case. However, having the longest road title, along with the points, can be taken and given to an opponent should they build a longer road. A player achieves the longest road by building 5 or more connecting roads. Monopolizing wood and brick would be best for this strategy. If I'm monopolizing wheat and ore, I'll attempt to have the largest army, as pulling the Knight development card contributes to your army. The first player to pull and use 3 Knight cards is awarded the largest army title, and this cannot be transferred or taken should an opponent reach this amount after it's been achieved by the first player. The bottom corner gives me the most access to wheat without exposing myself to my opponent's blockade or spreading myself too thin. Please note, I'm only commenting on my gameplay and that this is not to be taken as professional and or expert advice. With that said, I'll place my first settlement on the 5-9-12 space, placing my first road inland. My second settlement will be placed on the 4-6-11 space. This is not the best placement for the second settlement, as I'd be preventing max output of the resources on 12 and 6. With this placement, I can only place 2 settlements on either resource because of spacing. However, my endgame is to monopolize this corner, so I'm not too worried about this position. I'm placing my road toward the first settlement to seal off the corner and connect my roads. The first 7 is rolled, and I have to decide where to put the robber. Again, the robber, when placed on a resource, prevents whomever is settled around the hexagonal space from gaining the resource when that number is rolled. The player who rolled 7 can also steal 1 resource from any player benefiting from the robbed space. Also, any player holding 8 or more resources when the 7 is rolled must discard at least 4 resources. The amount of resources discarded scales up depending on how many resources held. I choose Lynn's wood space, a 5 dice roll. This is Lynn's only access to wood, which is needed for roads, settlements, and ships, putting this player in a desperate position. I have access to the only other 2 wood resources currently settled. I'm currently deciding to focus my efforts on getting longest road first, and in the process gain access to the 3-10-11 wool resources. I currently have no access to this resource, and I will have to trade for it until then. Here, I'm checking for possible trades with any of my opponents. It's early in the game, so I doubt anyone wants to trade. If you look down at the bottom right hand corner, there are 3 options. From left to right, you have block trade, roll dice, and or pass. You must always roll the dice first before doing anything else during your turn. The only time you can execute any action before rolling the dice is when playing a night card. More on that later. When playing virtually, I tend to block trade offers from the computer, as I like to trade on my terms during my turn. However, not blocking this allows you to see what your opponents need when they propose a trade during their turn. But, as expected, no one wants to trade, so I'll pass my turn for now. Under this trade option, you can see what is required to trade with the bank. If you have the resources, it's a guaranteed trade. However, it's a 4-to-1 ratio, meaning for every 4 resources I give the bank, I only get 1 back. There are ports around the edge of the map that a player can take advantage of, and when settled, will reduce this ratio. I'll take the points now to get ahead of my opponent, laying down a road and getting longest road, along with 2 victory points. Objective complete. I've all but monopolized the bottom left corner of the map. The next objective is to expand settlements into cities and gain largest army. At the bottom left portion of the screen, the player can track the opponent's trades, gathered resources, and development cards earned. Pro tip, during live play, it's great to note these things and track the opponent's moves with pen and paper. But when you play virtually, there's usually a log you can reference. I'm looking for someone to trade me for wood, possibly a wheat for wood. I want to trade the bank for wood to get 1 ore and use that to upgrade my settlement to a city. But wood is scarce right now, so I doubt there's a trade available. I finally got the resources needed to build a city. I'm choosing to upgrade my 5-9-12 settlement to further monopolize the wheat in the game and increase my brick production, which will help me when fighting to keep longest road. I'm now looking for a trade, wool for grain, or wood, but none of the players are willing to trade me. But that's okay, I can trade with the bank. I didn't want to have to sacrifice 4 wood, but it's 4 victory points, so consider it done. And now I have what I need to pull a development card. 1 wool, wheat, and ore is what's required. As I said before, development cards can trigger certain positive events, give victory points, or can contain a knight with which the robber can be moved to a space of my choosing. Again, typically you want to play your knight before you roll the dice on your turn. If the player rolls the dice before the knight is played and the dice lands on a resource the robber is occupying, the player will not get that resource. Uh-oh, looks like Nasir is trying to challenge my right to longest road. I might have to take preventative measures sometime soon. Wow, Nasir hit Lynn with a double whammy, robbing her twice in one turn. He's keeping her out of the game. Thanks, Nasir, making my job easier. I typically like to keep my resources around 5 to 7 range to prevent having to discard when a 7 is rolled, but here I'll have to get rid of my wheat as I'm confident I can earn that back. Oh boy, I need to slow Nasir down. Blocking his brick production will help me keep the title of longest road, as bricks are required for roads. Well, that didn't last long. At least Lynn got her lick back on Nasir. I need a brick, but can't trade wood for it as I need that to complete a road and settlement on the same turn. It looks like it's a race to get to 2, 9, 10. I'm going to settle for a development card in hopes of getting a knight. Sweet! I'm going to play my second knight and move the robber back to Nasir's 4 space brick. Hopefully it's not moved too soon. Oh, and look, I took a brick. Here I need to decide whether to place my road left or right. I think left is the best option as it provides more brick if a settlement is placed there. Another settlement, another victory point. Mahahaha. And enough for another development card. One more night played will give me the largest army. And there it is. 2 more points in the bag. And that's game. Here are some of the statistics of the game, although the most important statistics are the dice rolls. The highest roll numbers were 11, 7, 5, 4, and finally 9. I had settlements gathering resources from all these spaces from the beginning of the game, capitalizing on them by monopolizing the bottom left corner of the map. To further my success, I was able to cut through the middle of the map, gaining access to the only resource I needed, wool. To further increase my chances, I isolated Lynn, who had no chance of reaching the other side of the map, let alone settle on other spaces. This meant I only had to compete with Nasir. If more victory points were required, I would have next focused on converting my settlements to cities, increasing production, and expanding to the borders of the maps. Overall, a complete domination. I really enjoyed this game. The nuances are enough to keep me coming back, and the variations in map definitely play a huge role in stratagem. With the addition of ships and islands, depleting resources, and seafaring robbers, Catan is a game I've incorporated into my top 5 board games to play. If you like a game that requires some thinking and finessing your friends in trades, then this is the game for you. There's a leaderboard and tournaments where professionals play for money, so you know it's real. I give Catan 2 thumbs up. If you have any other games you'd like me to review, leave your comments below. Stay tuned for more content. Thanks again for watching another episode of Critically Speaking. That's it for today's episode of Critically Speaking. Thanks for joining us as we explore the latest movies, games, and hot topics. Stay up to date with our latest content by hitting that notification bell. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. And as always, stay critical.